Hey everybody, welcome back. So I'm so pleased with how the rear end turned out, rebuilding the track lock and brakes and everything, that I'm going to do something similar to the front. Now the front, thank God, doesn't have a limited slip that has to have new clutch packs put in it. It's a Dana 30 open differential, but I do have one of these little things. This is a Spartan lunchbox locker, and I am going to be putting that in. It also doesn't have drum brakes. I am going to be rebuilding the calipers and replacing the brake hoses, so I'm just going to get the calipers completely off of it. And there is a possibility that I might be able to do this without pulling the caliper. I've been trying to look at what other people have shown and said, or not pulling the caliper, pulling the carrier. Did I say pulling the caliper? Anyway, what I meant was I might be able to do this without pulling the carrier. And I've been watching what other people do. Seems like almost everybody wants to pull the carrier, but apparently there are some gear sets, and 307, which is what I have, you can pull that cross shaft pin out without pulling the ring gear off. So about the only way I'm going to tell is by getting the cover off. But since I know I'm going to be doing the brakes and all that, I'm going to go ahead and get it jacked up, get the wheels off it, get the calipers off of it, and I'll probably back the axles out anyway, because I'm going to do it no matter what. So let's get that part done. Okay, now that we got the wheels off both sides and on jack stands, we're going to pull the locking hubs, the calipers. Like I say, I'm going to pull the hoses off the calipers and get them completely out. If you're doing this on an XJ or something like that, it's going to be quite a bit different. On the CJ, the caliper comes off. You pull this bolt here, and it takes, I think, a 1/4 inch Allen, and then this is a wedge in here, and you tap it out toward the front, probably tap out toward the back too, I can't remember. You tap it out, it's got a spring, kind of spring shim that's in there. Don't lose any of that. And then the caliper lifts off. We're going to take these bolts out, take the hub off. We're going to take the wheel bearing, the bolts that hold the wheel bearings in, take the bearings out, and then the hub has to be pulled. And that's going to be always the sticky part. Like I say, if you're doing a later model Jeep, there's probably just 3 bolts on the back. You can unbolt the whole thing. You can slide everything out far enough to do the locker without having to pull it all apart. But this is a CJ, so let's get to it. Okay, this is the bolt that has to come out. And you know how I can tell that I've had this apart before? It's got copper antices on it. I put copper antices on everything. See them on the lugs. You'll see them on almost everything. Okay, when you loosen all these bolts on these hubs, they are spring loaded. There's a spring underneath, so kind of back it out a little bit carefully and see what's going on. If it comes apart in pieces, you're in trouble. You'll have to do some parts replacing. Sometimes I'll see this piece here just be literally torn to shreds and just gone. So we're just going to kind of keep all this together. I'll repack all this, clean it and repack it with fresh grease and put the proper amounts of anti-seize on everything. And now there's going to be if I remember correctly, there is a spring clip. There is a spring clip in here, so we have to get the tool for that. There we go. I actually managed not to lose it. Yay me. Now, this should just back off of here like that. Like I say, it should come apart as one piece like this. If it does, you're in Fat City. Clean it off, of course, inspect it, and re-grease it and put it back together when we're done. And now we have a big bolt in here, and there should be one of those washers, you know, with the ears that turn down. I think there's 2 of these bolts on here. Up, I see the ears bent forward to hold that nut from backing off. So you want to get a hammer and a chisel or a big screwdriver that you don't care about, and you want to get on that ear, and you want to tap that ear back so that you can turn that nut. Let me back that out of there, and I believe I have a socket for that. Okay, this is my socket that fits that. Kind of sort of fits it. It's a 2 3/32 socket, and it had a 3/4 inch drive on it, and I didn't have any 3/4 inch drive tools, so I welded a cheap 1/2 inch impact socket to the back of it. It's funny, I call this a cheap 1/2 inch impact. It's made in Taiwan. That was a cheap socket 25 years ago. Now that's probably the good socket. Sad, isn't it? All right, let's get that out of there. I'm just going to go ahead and use my big impact since I have it sitting here. All right, there's our nut. I think there's another nut under it. That outer nut's just the lock nut. All right, let's get that plate out. There we go. This is the plate that you bend the ear forward on right there. It's got a tab in the center that locks into the center, and then you bend that tab up, and that keeps that nut from walking out. And yep, there's another nut in there. That's the one that puts the preload on the bearing. And yeah, that one's not even tight. Get that out of there. Everything's nicely still packed with grease. And now I should be able to pull my, whoops, there went the bearing. And the spacer for it, where'd it go? Over here in the dirt, of course. Of course, there's nothing but dirt out here. Let's clean dirt off it and kind of take a look at it. Yeah, you know what? That don't look bad at all. Yeah, that don't look bad at all. Probably doesn't have that many miles on it. I had this all apart probably not more than, I don't know, 20,000 miles ago. I mean, it's been 15 years, but it probably was only 20,000 miles. And boy, that rotor has some, look at that pad. That rotor has some grooves on the back of it, doesn't it? Oh yeah, it does, deep grooves. I had not planned on replacing these rotors, but I don't like that very much. We'll see. All right, now this has to come off. These was it 2, 4, 6 bolts and nuts have to come off, and then that hub pulls out. And I used to have a tool to do this, and I think I don't have it anymore, but if I don't, I'll either have to build something or should be able to put the nut back on it. Now they make a tool specially for this that goes on like a big slide hammer. It threads onto here, and then the slide hammer slides on the end, and you just whack it. And I had also used just a hub puller, and you put the nut back on. You put the nut back on like that, and you put the hub puller over the bolts here, and you just press against that, and I pulled them off that way. Have I done that with these? Will that work? I don't think that'll work. I know I've used a hub-like puller on these before, but I can't remember how I did it. I have to think about that. Wouldn't be too hard to build a slide hammer that just went around here and under the nut, and then it had 2 pieces here and 2 rods and a slide hammer can be as simple as a piece of pipe with a larger piece of pipe over top of it, and then something welded on the end to keep it that you can pound against. But sometimes these don't come off that hard. Depends on how old, how many years it's been on there, how rusty it is. And I don't remember having any trouble getting it off, but I could be not remembering correctly. So let's get these bolts out of here. And I don't think that there's a bolt on the a bolt head on the back. So I'm going to spray them, and then I'm going to pull them. Are they 9/16? They are 9/16. So let's use my big electric impact on it. Now, in a perfect world, this just pulls off of there. I don't think you have to pull anything else. This all should just pull right off, caliper mount and everything. And then the axle should slide right out of it. You never pound on these, just don't do that. You can put the nut back on and tap on the nut. Like I might do this a little bit to see if it'll just rock loose, and I can already see that it is. I can already see it rocking. But I wouldn't do it much. Look at that, it's going to come right off, isn't it? I believe it is. Look at that. See, these have been off before. If yours is old and rusty as hell, this isn't going to happen. Only ever tap on the nut, and only ever use a brass hammer, just in case you miss and hit that bearing surface. Trust me, I've made that mistake in the past. Okay, so there's that hub, and now this axle will pull out. And I'm going to take a quick look at that U-joint, but I've replaced these. So I'm just going to let that hang right there, because that's as far as I need to pull that. So I'm going to go do the other side. So this side came apart even easier than the other side. And again, on this side, this rotor is trashed. I must have been the one to do that, but I sure don't remember doing it. But it must have been, it must have been me, because I've owned this for a very long time. And I also pulled that tie rod out because it was going to be in the way. And I broke the other one, the other end loose, and pulled it out of the way so I would have more of a clear shot at it. And let's get that cover off. God, that thing is going to take some cleaning up, isn't it? But let's get it off of there. Okay, so the cover's off, and one of the first questions I asked myself if I would be able to do this is, will the cross shaft come out past the ring gear? And it sure looks to me like it will, which means I can do this with it in the vehicle. Okay, I'm throwing in the towel. I can't get that pin to knock out of there to save my life. And before I mar it up even more, I'm just going to go ahead and pop the 4 bolts, pull the saddle clamps out, and pull that out. I've marked the caps so I know where they go, and we're just going to get it out of there and get it to the bench. Okay, plan B didn't work because that carrier ain't coming out of there without a spreader. But I did find out that once I pulled this cap over there, I had an angle that I could get into the hole to drive that pin out. The only real problem then was getting a long enough thing out so that I could hit it, and this spring U-bolt was kind of in the way, but not enough to stop me. And I got that pin worked almost all the way out. I may have to put something in there because the punch wasn't quite long enough to drive it all the way out. But yeah, plan A is going to work again, because I could not pry that carrier out of there to save my life. And okay, I managed to get that out, and that came out, well, not too much trouble. The pin was really tight for some reason. Now, I've kind of got these axle gears and spider gears lined up how they go with the correct shims, but none of this goes back in if the Spartan locker goes in properly. So, but nonetheless, just in some horrible circumstance that I have to put it back, there it is. Also, I'm going to put those caps back on and retorque them right now. The spec is 60. I'm going to do it now just so I don't forget and realize it, you know, later on when I'm driving it that I forgot to torque those again. So going to do that right now. And holy cow, is it going to rain on me here or what? I don't need that. It is a new day, and yesterday I got everything completely taken apart and ready for the Spartan locker to go in. I've still got a lot of cleaning to do. I've got a bunch of small parts in the ultrasonic cleaner. I turned it off temporarily because it completely screws the microphone up on the camera, so I'm not going to be running that while I'm running the camera. And I've got, I'm ready to do the Spartan locker. I've never done one of these before. They come with a really nice instruction manual. This Spartan locker is from USA Standard Gear. They've got videos on their website. There's a bunch of videos on the internet. Almost all the videos on the internet I've found are doing this with it out of the vehicle. And of course, the pictures they're showing here are also doing it out of the vehicle. And they have no specific instructions for Jeeps or Danas. They have specific instructions for the Samurai, a Toyota, and a Ford, and then just general, I guess, for everything else. But it doesn't look that tough. Everything, the only a couple things I noticed about it is the videos that I have watched, not Spartan's videos, but the videos I have watched from other people doing it, they just throw it together and they don't measure anything. And maybe they're just lucking out, I don't know. Spartan says to measure it when you're done. And forget where they show it in here. Thought they showed it in there. Anyway, there's a gap inside you're supposed to measure when it's done, and it's supposed to have a certain amount of clearance, and there's a tolerance, a range one way or the other. Most of the videos I watched are just guys doing their own, don't measure anything, or they don't show it on camera. And one of the videos I watched, guy says he's done about 20 of them. He never measured his on camera either. The other thing I noticed was when you put these pins in, and I don't know if you can see it in these pictures, but you push these pins down, they have springs under them, and then you put, they call them wires in the side that temporarily hold everything compressed while you're putting it together. And you can see it in this one here. You can see these two little wire pins sticking out. Once it's all in, you pull those out. They say you may have to bend them to get it in. People on the internet, on YouTube, are cutting them. The one guy who's done 20 or so, he says if you cut them, you've put them together wrong. He's never had to do it. I don't know. In order to pull them out, you have to get to both sides of the carrier. I'm doing mine in the vehicle. I can only get to one side unless I rotate it. If these pins prevent me from rotating it, I won't be able to get them out. I won't be able to do it. So right now where I'm looking at them here, it looks like they'll rotate easily because there's quite a bit of gap around between the carrier and the housing. So let's do that part. Let's get that together first. And I'm going to have to mount the camera. I'm going to have to get everything out of the packaging. Here it all is in here. It comes packaged very nicely. And then here is the packaging with the pins and the springs and everything. They give you a brand new roll pin, and they give you one of each. So if one goes springing across the shop, I'm going to be ordering more. And I did not order more in advance. So I'm going to set the camera down someplace, and I'm going to get this out of the packaging, and we're going to put those in. I got the two pieces in question out where the springs and the pins go. I sterilized a dish, just magnetic dish, just to put this in. So you got 4 of these funky looking pins with the holes in the back, and you got 4 springs, and you got 4 of these little short pins. So, and we're going to put some grease in it. So what we're going to do, I'm pretty unceremonious here. I'm going to put a little bit of grease in each one of these holes just because I can. I don't know if it's necessary. Everybody I've seen do it greases these things, so I'm going to grease them too. So put in a spring and a pin. So spring goes in the pin. Put a little little grease on that, even though the hole it's going into is all greased up. Spring and a pin, and I might have put too much grease in a couple of these. That's gonna squoze out. Now, I'm just trying to keep stuff from going flying on me if I accidentally let loose of it, you know, or keep it from bouncing away. If I get enough grease on it, grease sticking out the hole that pin goes in. So we're going to compress this down with my fingers, and I'm going to slide that pin in until it locks. Guess it goes in that one, huh? There we go, right there. I want to make sure that's all the way in. That is all the way in. That ain't going to come out easy either. So there's that one. And now we're going to do the same thing here. Spring and a pin in the hole. Looks like that might be what that little hole down there for, so the excess grease you put into it can squeeze out, which is fine. And I put a lot of excess grease in that, didn't I? And compress it and put that pin in it, about pretty much almost, not quite flush, but compresses them quite a bit. I'm just going to smear the rest of this grease all around on it. Yeah, they're held in pretty tight. So we're going to grab the other one and do the same thing. There we go. So now the next part of the instructions, you assemble this. They give you a new pin too, by the way. A new cross shaft, I should say, which is nice. So the next thing they say to do, we want to put, I got to pull the axle shafts out and clean the axle shafts because they're all dirty as well. So these pieces now go together like that, and like that. They go together like that with the holes lining up, but these pieces, these go in there. And I'm going to look at the manual to make sure I'm putting them in the right way because I don't remember. But we don't put it all together out here. We go out to the, I'm getting shit all over everything. You go out to the carrier, you do the side with the ring gear on it. You do the side with the ring gear on it like that. You put that in, and then you put this piece, one of these in with its retainer, or excuse me, with its little cut piece, whichever way that goes in. I'm probably doing it wrong, but I think it's like this. And if you do these wrong, you're screwed. You'll have to take it back apart. And I have heard these are a complete bitch to take back apart. And then you do the same on the other side, and you pull the pins out. Well, you put the cross shaft in, then you pull the pins out. And so let's go try it. What do we got to lose? Okay, I think I'm ready to do this. I have all my parts down there greased up in that relatively clean steel dish. My dog says, "It's okay, Chuck, just clean it out when you're done. I hate water that tastes like gear oil." Anyway, I'm just kidding. The dog hasn't used that dish for years. And I have the sun shining right in my face, so you know what? That's good. I'm liking that. So let me set this up. And if it's blurry, it's because I keep getting grease on the camera lens. And I can't see jack shit. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with the ring gear. Oh, and you know what? I forgot. We want to make double and triple to make sure there is no shims left in it. Because the Spartan locker does not use shim. I got my axle there in the way. I have to clear that out. Make absolutely sure that you have no shims left in it. Here's how they say to do it. Start on the ring gear side, they say, because you have the least amount of slop. Slide a gear in, just like that. Just like that. Now, do we do both of those at the first, or I think we do both of those. Let's do the other one. Maybe I'll go look at the instructions. There it goes. There it is. That fits nice. Just needed to look at it. That's all. Okay, those both gears are both in. While I'm on this side, we're going to do They say do the ring gear side first, so let's do it. I forget who said that. It might have been one of the YouTube videos. There went the camera. Let me stand it back up. All right, so now the open part of this cup faces the teeth on that. I am world famous, I would think, for when there's a right way and a wrong way, doing it the wrong way twice. Okay, how's that supposed to go in there? Do I have a bigger hole on the other side? Let's roll it and try it. There it goes. All right, there's one, and I'm going to roll it until the pins are as far that way as they can go. Let's try the other one. And we're going to double check this open side toward the teeth, and it's going to have to go in like, where's my hole for my cross shaft? It's got to go like this. There we go. Come on. There we go. It's going, it's going, it's going, it's not going. Okay, I am tipped up. No, I'm about perfect. See if I can turn that gear slightly to get that to line up. Not sure why it's not going. Can't really tell why it's not going. Let's try starting it in a little bit. No, it has to go in. It's got to go in with these flats. Oh, I knocked out my cup. Get that back in. It's got to go in along those flats. Once it's in, you can rotate it pretty much anywhere you like it, but it will only go in on those flats. So let's try again. Up, I got the pin out. Pin's got to go inside the carrier. Is that pin what it's hitting? Is that what everybody is saying to cut? I don't know. All I know is it gets right to there and stops. See if I can rotate the whole thing around and feel it. Oh, the pin's down in this cross shaft hole. Duh, that won't work. Pin's down in the cross shaft hole. Yeah, that's not gonna go. That pin's too long. It's going down. It's catching on the cross shaft. Oh, there it went. Nope, I'm wrong. It went in. Yay me. But of course now I'm not lined up. Why am I not lined up? Yeah, that's not gonna work. Is there any way to rotate it? There is no way to rotate that, and there's no way to rotate that. So one of these pins is going to have to be shortened because there's no way to line the cross shaft up. Or bent. I'm just going to pull it back out and cut it, I think. In fact, I probably don't even need to pull it back out. I can probably do it right there. But you can see it. I need to either rotate the one my thumb is on up or that one down. And you can see that ain't happening. So I'm going to go grab a pair of cutters and I'm just going to cut that one off. And hopefully I don't have to pull it out. If I do, I will. Okay, I am going to chop this one off. And it needs to be short enough to be inside that carrier. So I'm going to go right about there. See if that's enough to get that in where I want it. That is still slightly too long. Wow, it really has to be short, doesn't it? It has to rotate up inside the carrier. Okay, we'll shorten it even more. You can't shorten it so much you can't pull it out, but I got a ways to go to get to that point. And be careful not to yank it out while you're doing this, of course. That would be no fun. All right, now that will go up in there, or I think it should be. Needs to mesh with those teeth, though. All right, where'd my screwdriver go? It wants to do everything except what I want. Is that about right? I really don't want to yank those pins out without that being right, but I don't see how that could be anything else. If I yank those pins out and it's not right, I'm going to be an unhappy camper. You know what? I'm going to slide this back out. I just want to double check it. I know I'm probably being a... Let's pull that back out and let's double check. I'm concerned about these pinholes. Okay, so this pin here wants to line up with one of these U-shaped cuts. And you can see them from the outside, so maybe I'm just being overly dramatic here. Let's get it back in there. And my cup is still toward the gear. I'm back in the cross shaft hole over here, aren't I? I am. You got to make sure that retaining pin that's toward the bottom doesn't go down into the cross shaft hole, because if it does, it doesn't go together, and you'll wonder why. So you kind of got to tip it up a little bit. You know what? That could be shorter and life would be okay. Let's make that a little shorter. I don't think it needs to be as short as that other side, but I don't think they need to be that long. Okay. Cup is still facing the gear side. Let's go back in. That should make that considerably easier to get in, I would think. And it did. In fact, it went too far. All right, so now I need to line that up. I'm thinking, nope, not quite lined up. You got it. It's going too far. I can see now why they made that. All right, I think I'm lined up. Can you see that? I think I'm lined up. I'm gonna throw caution to the wind, and I'm gonna pull one of those pins. I'm gonna start with this one. Hands are so greasy I can't hold on to the pliers. There's that one. I didn't clip in for some reason. Oh shoot, it's not lined up, damn it. See, that's what I was concerned about. All right, so what do I do? There it went, okay. I pushed it and it popped in. So now what? Should I rotate it and do one on the opposite side, or? I don't remember reading that. I can rotate it all the way around. I mean, nothing's really tight at the moment, but that's just not lining up. This gear wants to go down and it can't because of that pin. I'm sure this would all be easier if I was doing it on a bench, but I'm not doing it on a bench. I'm doing it out here. Well, I'm gonna trim that off. I can't fucking do it now. Okay, let's see if I can get that into the cutters a little further. There we go. Didn't really want it to be that short. There we go. Now it's going to line up for me. Yeah, those little retainer pins, they are kind of in the way. There ain't no doubt about that. If I pull that out, I'm going to lose that spring thing on the other side, and I'm going to be starting over. I'd like not to do that. Oh. There we go. I think that got it. I hope. Problem with doing it out here is you can only really see one side at a time. You can kind of feel the other side. I'm going to pull this pin here if I can. Here we go. And now I'm going to try and carefully rotate it and pull the others. Here's this one here. And let's roll it around. Carefully roll it around. Where's the other pin? Up in there? Up in there. There it is right there. Okay. All right. That all seems like it's together. Let me get the camera up there. That all seems like it's together. All the little pins are in their respective spots. Can't turn it now. See if I can get it from the other side. There we go. Yeah, all the little pins are in places. The gears are lined up. I just want to make sure I got all those pins out. There's 1, 2, 3. Come on, baby. A little more. You can do it. And 4. Okay, all the pins are out and they're all in place. Now, what they say to do in the instructions, and then they want you to measure this gap here. That gap right in there. So, okay, I am just going to kind of do a little gentle prying in here. Make sure I have the grease all squeezed out of it so that we're sitting nice and flush. All right, let's measure that. See if it can get, will it even fit in there? I don't know. I'll have to rotate it around a little bit maybe. Or maybe I can do it right on that corner. All right, so set the inches and 0 and see if it can fit in there. All right, 0.152. And they said 145 to 170. All right, let's spin measure the other side just for the hell of it. And once again, I think I'm just gonna make sure I have the grease all squoze out of there as best I can. And let's measure this side too. Kind of an awkward way to measure something. That is awkward as hell. I think I pushed it when I was done a little bit. Oh yeah, 151. Okay. All right. I'm going to say that's good. So now what we want to do, we want to get the cross shaft in. Whoops. Want to get have I got grease all over the camera lens yet? No? Give me a few minutes. I will. And we want to make sure we get the cross shaft in correctly. So it goes, oh, it doesn't matter which side it goes in from, does it? I don't think it does. So we want to line the hole up as best we can. I think that's going to be it about right there. The hole for the lock pin is there. Oh, baby, that one's tight. I don't like that. Okay, we're lined up there pretty well. Oh, I hate having to hammer stuff in. I really do hate it. I mean, it's a tight fit, and I love that, but man, if you ever got to take it back out again, it's going to suck. All right, I'm going to get my brass hammer, and we are going to tap the head in. Okay. Oh, that's not too bad. Ooh, going right through. We just got to line it up. Here we go. There we go. Now all we got to do is put the roll pin back in. They give you a new roll pin. And I'm going to obviously need a punch because that's not going to work very well like that. Let me go grab the punch. I should have brought it with me and didn't. Let's tap, whoops. Let's tap this in. I just tapped the camera. Not lined up right. Darn it. Okay, once I got the hole for the pin to line up, that tapped all right back in place real easy, and we are completely assembled. The axles are pushed back in place. That's why it's turning a little hard, because they're not being supported on the outside. They're just laying on the steering knuckle. And I can't think of any way to really test this until I have the wheels back on it. But anyway, it's all back together as far as the locker and the differential is concerned. I'm going to do a lot of scraping and cleaning up, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.